His fingertips hover just above my skin, not touching, yet somehow I feel branded by his restrained power. One look from him unravels me like a secret I've kept even from myself, exposing desires I never knew existed until he silently commanded them to surface. The agency said he was different. They didn't say he would see right through me. When the phone rang with his request, I almost declined. Something in his voice, controlled, precise, expecting compliance, made me hesitate. Now, sitting across from Alexander Reid in this dimly lit hotel bar, I understand why they warned me. He doesn't look at me like other clients. He looks at me like he already knows what I'll surrender before I do. And the terrifying part is how badly I want to prove him right. He won't ask twice. And I already know I won't say no. If you've ever been undone by a single look or found yourself surrendering to desires you never admitted to having, share your experience in the comments below. Like, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications to journey deeper into the dark waters of passion where control and surrender become one. He sips his whiskey, eyes never leaving mine. My glass of champagne remains untouched. Your agency speaks highly of your discretion, Alexander says, his voice deep and measured. I'm interested in something more comprehensive than their standard offerings. I've heard similar preambles before. Wealthy men who think their desires are unique when they're actually predictable. I'm listening, I say, keeping my professional mask in place. 5 years in this business has taught me to never show surprise. I want exclusivity. For months, possibly longer. You'll be compensated for the clients you'll decline. The figure he names makes my breath catch. It's enough to finish my degree, enough to be free from this life. That's generous, I manage, careful not to sound too eager. I'm not a generous man, Miss Collins. His use of my real name, not my professional alias, startles me. I'm a man who values efficiency. And I'd rather not renegotiate with someone new. Alexander Reid is possibly 40, with dark hair threaded with silver at the temples. His suit is bespoke, his watch understated but worth more than my car. Everything about him screams control. What would these engagements involve? Various social functions, private dinners, occasional travel. He pauses, and companionship on my terms. There it is, the catch. My terms have always been clear with the agency. I've read your boundaries, he interrupts smoothly. I'm not asking you to revise them. I'm asking for something different altogether. Alexander slides a small leather portfolio across the table. Inside is not the cash I expected, but a printed document. Take this home. Read it carefully. Call me tomorrow with your decision. I skim the first page. It's detailed, specific about appearances, behavioral expectations, and compensation. More corporate merger than sexual arrangement. This seems elaborate for companionship. A slight smile. I don't like ambiguity, Miss Collins. And if I want to terminate early, you'll find the exit clause on page 3. Everything is negotiable now. Something flickers in his eyes. But once you agree, I expect complete commitment to our terms. I tuck the portfolio into my purse, hyper-aware of his gaze, tracking the movement. One more thing, he says as I prepare to leave. I value honesty above all. If you're considering this for the money alone, I advise you to decline. What other reason would there be? He leans forward slightly. Curiosity, the same reason I selected you from the others. Something in your eyes tells me you're searching for something beyond transaction. My mouth goes dry. How can he see that when I've hidden it for so long? Tomorrow, I say, standing. Tomorrow, he agrees. I don't ask twice, Ms. Collins. Walking away, I feel his eyes on me until the elevator doors close. Inside my apartment, I read every word of his contract 3 times. It's unlike anything I've seen, full of clauses about respect, communication, and explicit consent. The sexual expectations are there, but secondary to psychological demands. I should be appalled. I should call Margot, my friend who runs the agency, and tell her Alexander Reid needs therapy, not an escort. Instead, I find myself signing the last page, heartbeat quickening as I realize I'm agreeing to surrender more than my body. I'm agreeing to surrender my carefully constructed walls. Alexander's penthouse occupies the top floor of a sleek high-rise overlooking the city. Floor-to-ceiling windows frame the skyline like artwork. Everything is monochromatic blacks, whites, and grays with occasional chrome accents. It's beautiful but impersonal, like a museum rather than a home. Do you live here? I ask, setting my purse on the marble countertop. When I'm in the city, he removes his suit jacket, revealing a crisp white shirt and slate gray waistcoat. Would you like a drink before we discuss details? No, thank you. I need clarity, not liquid courage. He nods approvingly. Follow me. I trail him into what must be his home office. One wall is glass, another lined with books. The massive desk is empty, save for a laptop and a single folder, my signed contract. You have questions, he says. Not a question but a statement. Several. I remain standing until he gestures to a chair across from his. The contract mentions psychological surrender multiple times. I need to understand exactly what that means. Alexander steeples his fingers. Physical intimacy is available anywhere. What I seek is harder to find, which is someone willing to surrender control completely, not just of their body, but of their choices, their schedule, their presentation within agreed boundaries. My pulse quickens. You want a submissive? No. A submissive follows orders out of pleasure or compulsion. I want someone who chooses to trust my judgment explicitly. That sounds like semantics. His expression doesn't change, but something in his eyes hardens. The distinction matters to me. I cross my legs, buying time. The contract specifies a safe word pine. You say it once. Whatever we're doing stops immediately. Twice, I remove any restraints. 3 times, I take you home, and our contract terminates without penalty. The clinical way he describes it should diminish the intimacy, but somehow does the opposite. Have you done this before? I ask. Double quotes yes. How many times? 3. The longest arrangement lasted 11 months. Why did it end? His expression remains impassive. She developed romantic expectations I couldn't fulfill. The warning is clear, and the others. One used the safe word 3 times during our second meeting. The other completed her contract and moved abroad. I nod slowly. What exactly would I be agreeing to day? Alexander opens the folder, turning it so I can see a detailed schedule. Your time would be structured. Some days you'll accompany me to events. Others you'll receive specific instructions for private meetings. And when we're not together, you'll have assignments. Things to read, wear, or prepare. Sounds exhausting. A hint of a smile. Many find it liberating to have decisions made. For them, I'm not many. No, he agrees, his eyes traveling over me with clinical assessment. You're not. I study the schedule. You've allocated time for my classes. Your education is important. I wouldn't interfere with that. This surprises me. Most clients resent my unavailability, see my psychology degree as a hobby rather than a future. The sexual expectations seem limited. Physical intimacy will progress at my discretion. It's not the primary purpose of our arrangement. Then what is? The exploration of control and trust. He leans forward slightly. I suspect you've never truly surrendered control to anyone, Miss Collins. Not completely. The observation hits too close. My entire career is built on the illusion of surrender while maintaining absolute control. And if I agree, I say carefully, what do you get from this, beyond the obvious? The same thing you do. Something authentic in a world of transactions. His words resonate uncomfortably. I stand, needing space from his penetrating gaze. One last question, I say, facing the window rather than him. Why me? Your resources could command anyone. I hear him rise, feel him approach, until he stands just behind me. Not touching, but close enough that I feel the heat of his body. Because, when I called, you hesitated before accepting. Because your eyes show calculation, not submission. Because you're not easily impressed. He pauses. And because when I asked about your boundaries, you named psychological manipulation first, not physical acts. I turned to face him, startled by our proximity. That concerns you. It intrigues me. Most in your profession guard their bodies but leave their minds unprotected, and you prefer the opposite. I prefer honesty. Say yes because you're curious, not because of the money. We stand there, inches apart, the city lights creating shadows across his features. The rational part of me screams to walk away. The part I've suppressed for years whispers to stay. Yes, I say finally. But I keep the safe word. Alexander's expression doesn't change, but something in his eyes flares satisfaction. Perhaps we begin tomorrow evening, he says, stepping back. 8 o'clock, wear your hair up. No perfume, nothing red. Just like that, it begins my first instruction. and I already know I'll comply. The restaurant is exclusive, hidden behind an unmarked door in the financial district. Alexander waits at the entrance, his gaze sweeping over me. Navy dress, hair pinned up, no perfume, no red eye pass. His silent inspection. "You look appropriate," he says, offering his arm. The maitre d' greets Alexander by name, leading us to a private alcove, for other men are already seated with their companions. I recognize two from business magazines: tech moguls, venture capitalists. "Gentlemen," Alexander says, his hand resting lightly on my lower back. "This is Elise, not Miss Collins, not my escort name. Just Elise, a deliberate choice that blurs the line between my professional and private selves." Introductions flow smoothly. These men assume I'm Alexander's girlfriend, not his hired companion. He does nothing to correct this impression. "Alexander mentioned you're studying psychology," one man's wife says over appetizers. I glance at Alexander, uncertain how much to reveal. "Elise specializes in behavioral patterns," he answers for me. "She finds people's motivations fascinating." The conversation shifts to business. I listen attentively, aware of Alexander observing my reactions. When appropriate, I add insights that connect their market discussions to human behavior. Alexander's hand occasionally brushes mine, not possessive but acknowledging. Dessert arrives, chocolate, for everyone except us. The server places mint sorbet before me without asking. "How did you know?" I whisper to Alexander. "Your agency profile mentioned you prefer citrus and mint over chocolate." The attention to detail is both flattering and unsettling. Hours pass in surprising comfort. Alexander is different in this setting, still controlled but with flashes of dry humor. The men respect him, perhaps fear him slightly. Their wives and girlfriends watch him with thinly veiled interest. In the car afterward, silence settles between us. "You were observing them," he says finally. "What did you see?" "Lyndon relies on your approval before making decisions. Harrison's wife controls their social calendar but defers to him publicly. Chen is having an affair with his assistant." Alexander raises an eyebrow. "Evidence." "He checked his phone 11 times, but never when she messaged." And the way he touched his wedding ring when discussing his weekend schedule, a nod, perceptive. "It's my job to read people." "Is that how you see tonight? A job?" The question catches me off guard. "Isn't it? You tell me." We arrive at his building. In the elevator, Alexander stands close but doesn't touch me. The air feels charged, heavy with unspoken expectations. Inside, his penthouse, he removes his tie, unbuttons his collar. "Wine?" "Yes, please." He pours 2 glasses of red, breaking his own nothing red rule. "Your performance tonight was excellent," he says, handing me a glass. "But I'm more interested in what you're thinking now." I take a deliberate sip. "I'm thinking this feels less transactional than I expected." "Does that concern you?" "It complicates things." "Life is complicated, Elise. Only death is simple." He gestures to the sofa. "Sit." I obey, hyper-aware of the shift from public to private space. He remains standing. "Remove your shoes." My fingers tremble slightly as I slip off my heels. "Now, close your eyes." Darkness makes his voice more intimate. I sense him moving, feel the sofa dip as he sits beside me, not touching, but close. "Tonight was about observation," he says quietly. "I watched how you adapt, how you read social cues. Tomorrow will be different." "Different how?" "Tomorrow I want to see how you respond to direct instruction." Something in his tone sends heat spiraling through me. Still blindfolded by my own eyelids, I feel exposed. "You can open your eyes now." He's closer than I expected, studying me with that penetrating gaze. For a moment, I think he might touch me, might kiss me. Instead, he stands. "It's late. My driver will take you home." Disappointment floods me, surprising in its intensity. "That's it." A slight smile. "For tonight." As I gather my purse, he adds, "When you arrive tomorrow, come directly to the penthouse. Wear something simple. Cotton, not silk." In the elevator descending to the waiting car, I press my cool hands to my flushed cheeks. Nothing happened. No touch, no kiss, certainly no sexy hit. I feel more affected than after nights with other clients, because nothing about this feels like a transaction anymore, and that terrifies me more than any explicit command he could give. I arrive precisely at 7, wearing a simple cotton dress as instructed. The doorman recognizes me, nodding as I enter the private elevator. My heart pounds as it ascends to the penthouse. Alexander opens the door before I knock. He's dressed casually, dark jeans and a gray Henley that softens his usual corporate appearance. Right on time, he says with approval. Come in. The penthouse looks different tonight, lights dimmed, music playing softly. He's prepared dinner, the scent of herbs and roasted chicken filling the space. You cook? I ask, unable to hide my surprise. I enjoy the precision. He hands me a glass of white wine. Tonight we'll discuss specifics. I follow him to the dining area, where 2 places are set. The table is positioned to maximize the city view. Sit, he directs, serving food with practiced movements. Tell me about your day. The question is so ordinary, it momentarily flusters me. I describe my morning class, an argument with my roommate, the book I'm reading. He listens attentively, asking occasional questions that reveal he's genuinely processing my words. You're more relaxed in your own space, I observe. I control the variables here. He refills my glass, which brings us to tonight's purpose. From beneath the table, he produces a slim leather portfolio similar to our contract. These are my expectations going forward. Read it now. I open it with steady hands despite my nervousness. The document inside is meticulous, detailed instructions. 4 different scenarios. How to dress for various occasions. How to address him in public versus private. Protocols for communication. And then the intimate instructions, positions, responses, boundaries. My face heats as I read. The directives are explicit but never crude. Clinical almost, except for occasional phrases that send heat curling through me. You will not climax without permission. You will verbalize your needs without shame. You will accept pleasure as given, not as requested. Questions he asks when I close the portfolio. Why the formality? Most men just ... take. I'm not interested in taking anything. I want what's freely given. After extensive contractual negotiation, a ghost of a smile. Clarity prevents misunderstanding. I tap the portfolio. Some of these expectations seem designed to provoke embarrassment. Vulnerability. He corrects. There's a difference. And this benefits me. How? Freedom through structure. Safety through boundaries. He sets down his fork. Tell me what you find most challenging in that document. I consider lying, selecting something physical rather than emotional, but something tells me he'd know. The requirement to vocalize desires without prompting. He nods, as if confirming a theory. Most difficult things are most valuable. Your assignment tonight is to identify 3 desires you've never admitted aloud. My throat tightens. Now, no. After dinner, in the living room, you'll sit across from me and tell me 3 things you want that shame you to acknowledge. Panic flutters in my chest. This is more intimate than any physical act. And if I refuse, then say your safe word and we adjust. But refusing is different from being unable. I expect genuine effort before surrender. We finish dinner with lighter conversation. He asks about my studies, offering insights that reveal his own psychology background. By dessert, I've almost forgotten what awaits. In the living room, he sits in a leather armchair, motioning me to the sofa opposite. Between us, a low table holds a crystal tumbler of whiskey for him, water for me. Whenever you're ready, he says, expression neutral. I take a shaky breath. I want someone to make decisions for me. The admission burns my throat. Not because I'm incapable, but because I'm exhausted from calculating every outcome. He nods, silent. I want to be seen fully, all my contradictions and flaws, and not be found wanting. My voice drops. No one's ever looked without eventually turning away. Alexander's gaze intensifies, but he remains still. The third desire sticks in my throat. Of all the things I could say, sexual fantasies, professional ambitions, the truth is most exposing. I want to matter to someone in a way that can't be replicated or replaced. My eyes burn with unshed tears. I want to be necessary, not just desired. Silence stretches between us. Alexander sips his whiskey, expression unreadable. Thank you for your honesty, he finally says, setting down his glass. Now, come here. I move to stand before him, expecting further instructions. Instead, he takes my hand, his thumb brushing my knuckles, our first deliberate contact. The touch is electric, simple, but significant. Kneel. I sink to my knees between his legs, heart hammering. His hands frame my face, tilting it upward. His eyes search mine, looking for hesitation. I'm going to kiss you now, he says quietly. You may respond naturally, but don't escalate. Do you understand? Yes. His lips meet mine with careful restraint. No tongue, no urgency, just the press of his mouth against mine, his hands still cradling my face. Despite its simplicity, the kiss vibrates through me with startling intensity. When he pulls back, his eyes have darkened. "Good," he says, his voice slightly rougher. "Very good." He helps me to my feet, releasing me with what seems like reluctance. "Tomorrow," he says, "we'll progress to the next stage. You'll come at 8, wear your hair down. Expect to stay the night." My pulse jumps at the implication. But his next words clarify. "In the guest room, we're building trust, Elise. That requires patience." As his driver takes me home, I touch my lips, still feeling the impression of his kiss. Tonight he asked for my secrets, not my body. Tomorrow he'll ask for something else that I already know. I won't say no. 3 weeks into our arrangement, and I've settled into a rhythm I never expected. Mondays and Thursdays I attend my classes. Tuesdays and Fridays I accompany Alexander to business functions or private dinners. Wednesdays and Saturdays are spent entirely in his penthouse, following increasingly intimate protocols. Sundays are mine alone, the one day he demands no contact. We haven't had sex yet. Each night I've stayed, I've slept in the guest room. Our physical contact has been limited to kisses, his hands in my hair, his fingers tracing my collarbone, the inside of my wrist. It's the most erotic experience of my life. Tonight we're attending a gallery opening. I wear a black dress he selected, modest in front, backless to the waist. My hair is styled in a loose updo, exposing my neck as he prefers. "You look beautiful," he says, when I arrive, his eyes traveling the length of me. "Turn around." I obey, feeling his gaze trace my exposed back. "Perfect," he murmurs, stepping close enough that I feel his breath on my bare shoulder. "Remember tonight's protocol. Address you as Alexander, to others. No alcohol. Stay within your sight unless instructed otherwise. And, if anyone asks how we met, we say, through mutual friends." He rewards me with a light touch at the base of my spine. Good. At the gallery, Alexander is immediately surrounded by acquaintances, wealthy patrons, artists, critics. I stand slightly behind him, speaking when addressed, but otherwise observing. I've become adept at this role, the attractive, intelligent companion who enhances without distracting. "Alex, darling." A tall blonde woman approaches, Alexander's cheeks. "Where have you been hiding? We missed you at the Bennetts last weekend." "Work, Cynthia. You know how it is." He places his hand on my lower back. "This is Elise." Cynthia's perfectly arched eyebrows rise fractionally as she assesses me. "Lovely to meet you. How did you two connect?" "Mutual friends," I reply smoothly. "How fortunate." Her smile doesn't reach her eyes. "Alex rarely brings dates to these functions. You must be special." Before I can respond, a waiter offers champagne. I decline, as instructed. "Not drinking?" Cynthia asks. "Not tonight." Her eyes narrow with speculation. "Our congratulations in order, Alex, for acquiring the Wilson portfolio." "Yes, thank you." Alexander deflects smoothly. "If you'll excuse us, I see someone I need to speak with." As we move away, I whisper, "She thinks I'm pregnant." "Let her." His hand remains possessively on my back as we navigate the crowd. Throughout the evening, I notice other women watching Alexander, some openly flirtatious, others more subtle. He remains politely detached, his attention returning to me with flattering consistency, until Margot appears. My agency director looks stunning in crimson, turning heads as she moves through the gallery. When she spots me, surprise flickers across her face before her professional mask returns. "Stay here," Alexander murmurs, sensing my tension. "I'll get you water." The moment he steps away, Margot approaches. "Well, this explains the exclusive contract," she says quietly. "Alexander Reid, of all people. It's not what you think. It never is, darling." Her eyes track Alexander at the bar. "Just be careful. Reid has specific tastes, I know." Her perfectly painted lips curve. In concern, his last companion from our agency terminated her contract early. Wouldn't say why. My stomach tightens. "You didn't think to mention this." Client confidentiality works both ways. Besides, his reference is checked out. She touches my arm. "Just remember, you can walk away anytime. Contract or no contract." Alexander returns, handing me water with a questioning glance at Margot. "Alexander, this is Margot Vega. We've spoken on the phone." His tone remains pleasant but has cooled considerably. enjoying the exhibition immensely. Your companion seems to be working out well. Elise exceeds expectations in every way. His emphasis makes my cheeks warm. Margot smiles tightly. How lovely. Well, I should circulate. Elise, call me if you need anything. The subtext is clear. If you need an exit. In the car afterward, tension radiates from Alexander. You didn't tell me Margot would be there. I say, I didn't know. His jaw is tight. Does it concern you that she saw us? No, she knows about the arrangement. Not all of it. He's right. Margot knows I'm exclusively contracted to Alexander, but not the psychological nature of our relationship. Not the way I kneel for him in private, not the way I crave his approval. Why did your last companion terminate early? I ask suddenly. Alexander's expression closes. Ask her. I'm asking you. He stares out the window for several beats. She developed feelings I couldn't reciprocate. When I made that clear, she chose to leave. Will that happen to me? His gaze returns to mine, searching. Are you developing feelings, Elise? The question hangs between us, dangerous in its simplicity. The professional answer is clear. No, never. This is business. But in 3 weeks, the lines have blurred beyond recognition. I don't know, I answer. Honestly, he nods once. A truthful uncertainty is better than a comforting lie. At his penthouse, I expect him to dismiss me to the guest room as usual. Instead, he leads me to the living room. Kneel, he says softly. I sink to my knees, my dress pooling around me. He stands before me, eyes intense. Tonight's protocol has changed. He says, tonight, I want you to tell me what you need. My breath catches. I need ... The words stick in my throat. Say it, Elise. His voice drops lower. Say what you need from me. I need you to touch me. The admission rushes out. Not just my hand or my face. I need more. Alexander kneels before me, eliminating our height difference. His hands cup my face, thumbs brushing my cheekbones. Tomorrow, he promises, his lips brushing mine softly. Tomorrow we begin in earnest. The anticipation is almost unbearable. Almost. The text from Margot comes while I'm in class. Emergency booking. Carter Westfield. Tonight, 8 p.m. Ritz-Carlton. Triple your usual rate. I stare at my phone, pulse quickening. Carter Westfield is a regular generous, respectful of boundaries. Before Alexander, I'd have accepted immediately. I'm exclusive with Reid right now, I reply. He cancelled his weekly girls. Thought you might be available. This gives me pause. Alexander hasn't mentioned cancelling our Wednesday arrangement. We're supposed to meet at his penthouse tonight, the night he promised we begin in earnest. Did he say why? Business emergency in Tokyo? Leaving this afternoon? You want the booking or not? I hesitate. The money would cover next semester's tuition, and if Alexander is truly in Tokyo ... I single quotes I'll take it. Send details. Guilt gnaws at me throughout the day. I should call Alexander, confirm he's traveling, but something stops me, pride perhaps, or fear of his reaction. Our contract specifies exclusivity, unless he releases me. Technically, I'm violating our agreement, but he violated it first by canceling without notice. At 7, I dress carefully, nothing Alexander has seen before. Different perfume, different hairstyle. I even changed the shade of my lipstick. Carter isn't particularly observant, but I can't risk anyone connecting me to Alexander. The Ritz-Carlton suite is elegant but generic. Carter greets me with his usual charming smile, already sipping whiskey. Elise, been too long. Drink. I accept champagne, needing something to steady my nerves. How have you been, Carter? Stressed. This merger is killing me. He loosens his tie. That's why I needed to see you. You're always so ... unconnected. Evening proceeds as expected. Dinner in the suite. Carter discussing his business troubles, the familiar dance of comfort and distraction I've performed hundreds of times, but something feels wrong. When Carter kisses me, I don't feel the usual professional detachment. I keep comparing his technique to Alexander's controlled passion. When his hands move over my body, they feel clumsy compared to Alexander's precise touch. Everything okay? Carter asks, sensing my distraction. Just tired, I lie, forcing myself to focus. We move to the bedroom. I go through the motions with practiced ease, giving Carter exactly what he's paid for, a fantasy of desire without complications. He falls asleep afterward, satisfied and oblivious to my internal turmoil. I shower thoroughly, scrubbing away evidence of my betrayal. As I dress to leave, my phone buzzes with a text. My penthouse. Now, Alexander. My heart stops. I thought you were in Tokyo. My fingers tremble as I type. I never left. Where are you? I consider lying, but he'd see through it. Coming. Carter stirs as I gather my things. Leaving so soon. Early class tomorrow. I kiss his cheek. It was good seeing you. Let's not wait so long next time. There won't be a next time. I know it with absolute certainty as I exit the hotel. Alexander's building looms like a monolith against the night sky. The doorman avoids my eyes as I enter the private elevator. He knows. Somehow, Alexander knows. The penthouse is dark, except for a single lamp in the living room. Alexander sits in his usual chair, still in his business suit, despite the late hour. His expression is unreadable. You broke our agreement. His voice is quiet, controlled, more frightening than anger. You cancelled without telling me. I did. No such thing. He gestures to the sofa across from him. Sit. I remain standing. Margot said. Margot lied. At my request, the floor seems to tilt beneath me. What a test. 1. You failed. He sips his whiskey, eyes never leaving mine. You didn't even call to confirm. Anger flares through my shock. You set me up. Tested me like some lab experiment. I needed to know if your commitment was genuine or merely financial. His tone remains maddeningly calm. Now I know. This is psychological manipulation. It's explicitly forbidden in our contract, as is seeing other clients. We stare at each other across the dim room, contract violations hanging between us like shattered glass. Carter Westfield, he says finally. Regular client before me, prefers the Ritz-Carlton, tips generously, never asks for anything unusual. My blood runs cold. You've been investigating me. I investigate all my investments thoroughly. I'm not an investment. I'm a person. Something flickers in his eyes, the first crack in his composure. Yes, you are. He stands, crossing to the bar to refill his drink. His back to me, he asks, did you enjoy it? The question catches me off guard. What, being with him? Did you enjoy it? No. The truth escapes before I can consider it. I kept comparing him to you. Alexander turns, expression softening marginally, and he felt wrong. Everything felt wrong. My voice breaks. Are we done? Is our contract terminated? He studies me for a long moment. Do you want it to be? No. Another truth I hadn't planned to admit. Alexander approaches slowly, stopping just outside my personal space. Why not? You have your tuition money from tonight. You could walk away, because this isn't about money anymore. I look up at him, vulnerability raw in my voice. You know that. Say it explicitly. His voice drops lower. What is this about, Elise? You, me, whatever this is between us. My hands clench at my sides. I broke protocol because I was hurt you'd counseled without telling me. Childish and unprofessional, but there it is. For the first time, Alexander looks genuinely surprised. Then, his expression hardens again. Go home, Elise. Alexander, go home, shower, change clothes, remove all traces of him. His voice is steel wrapped in velvet. Then return. We'll discuss consequences. It's almost midnight. I'll wait. I should refuse. Should walk away from this manipulation, this possessiveness disguised as protocol. Instead, I find myself nodding. 1 hour, I say. 1 hour, he agrees. And Elise, when you return, use your key. The key he gave me last week, symbolic access to his private domain. A test of trust now weighted with new significance. In the elevator descending, I press my forehead against the cool glass, emotions churning. I've broken his rules, he's broken mine. Yet, instead of walking away, I'm hurrying home to wash away another man's touch so I can return to Alexander. What does that say about me? What does it say about us? I return exactly 1 hour later. My hair is still damp from the shower. I've scrubbed every inch of my skin, brushed my teeth twice, and changed into the simple cotton dress Alexander prefers. The key slides into his lock with a soft click. The penthouse is different. Candles illuminate the space instead of electric lights. Music plays softly, something classical I don't recognize. Alexander stands at the window, still in his suit, pants, but his jacket and tie are gone, shirt sleeves rolled to his elbows. He turns as I enter. You came back, I said I would. Many say things they don't mean. I set my purse on the counter, heart hammering. What happens now? Now we address your breach of contract. He crosses to me slowly, his movements measured. When he reaches me, he doesn't touch me, just studies my face in the candlelight. Our agreement specified consequences for violations. He says quietly, "Do you remember them?" I swallow hard. Financial penalties or termination. Yes, however, given the unusual circumstances, my deception preceding yours, I'm offering a third option, which is restitution through submission. Real submission, not the surface compliance you've shown so far. My breath catches. What would that entail? Complete surrender for the remainder of the night. No safe word until morning. Fear and something darker pulse through me. That wasn't in our contract. This is a renegotiation. You're free to refuse, and if I do, then we revert to the original terms. Financial penalty, then continuation, or termination, your choice. I consider my options. The penalty would erase my earnings from Carter, and then some. Termination would mean never seeing Alexander again. Both are unacceptable for reasons I'm not ready to examine. If I agree to tonight, what exactly would you require? Alexander's eyes darken. Your complete trust. I would control everything, what you feel, what you wear, what you say. Your pleasure and your surrender would belong to me until dawn. And tomorrow? Tomorrow we return to our established protocols with the slate clean. I close my eyes briefly, heart racing. No permanent harm. Never. No public exposure. Everything remains between us. I open my eyes, meeting his gaze directly. Then yes, I consent to your third option. Something flares in Alexander's eyes. Desire, perhaps even relief. He steps closer, finally breaching my personal space. Last chance to change your mind, he murmurs. In answer, I sink to my knees before him, head bowed. The position we've practiced in previous sessions, but never with this level of surrender. Look at me, he commands. I raise my eyes to his. Say it explicitly, Elise. What are you giving me until dawn? Complete control. My body, my will, my surrender. My voice trembles slightly. No safe word until morning. Alexander extends his hand to help me up. Follow me. He leads me to his bedroom, a space I've never entered before. Like the rest of the penthouse, it's minimalist but luxurious. The massive bed dominates the space. Black sheets in stark contrast to the white walls. Undress, he says, stepping back to observe. My fingers tremble as I reach for the zipper of my dress. There's no music, no dimmed lights, no artifice to ease my vulnerability, just his unwavering gaze as I reveal myself piece by piece. When I stand naked before him, he circles me slowly, assessing. No part of me remains hidden from his scrutiny. Beautiful, he says finally. Now remove my shirt. I step forward, fingers working the buttons of his shirt. My knuckles brush against his chest, feeling the warmth of his skin, the steady beat of his heart. I push the shirt from his shoulders, revealing a physique more athletic than his tailored suits suggest. Enough, he says, before I can reach for his belt. On the bed, lie on your back, arms above your head. I obey, hyper-aware of my exposure, my vulnerability. Alexander moves to a dresser, retrieving items I can't see. When he returns to the bedside, he holds black silk restraints. Yes or no, Elise? Despite our agreement, he's still giving me this choice. Yes. He binds my wrists to the headboard with practiced efficiency, testing the restraints to ensure they're secure but not tight. The silk is cool against my skin, the restriction both frightening and thrilling. Close your eyes. Darkness heightens my other senses, his scent, his movements around the room, the sound of his breathing. I feel the bed dip as he sits beside me. Tonight is about trust, he says, his voice low. Trust requires vulnerability. Real vulnerability, not the performance you've given your clients. Something soft trails along my collarbone, a feather or scarf. Goosebumps rise in its wake. You pretend to surrender while maintaining perfect control. He continues, the soft implement tracing my sternum, circling my breast without touching where I most want it. Tonight, that control is mine. The sensation disappears. I strain to hear his movements, anticipation building. Something cold touches my stomach, an ice cube. I gasp as Alexander traces it in lazy circles, moving lower with each pass. The contrast of cold against my heated skin is exquisite torture. Your body responds to me even when your mind resists. He observes, the ice now circling my inner thigh. Tonight, they'll align. The ice is replaced by his warm mouth, pressing kisses where the cold has sensitized my skin. I arch upward, seeking more contact. Be still, he commands. You move only when I allow it. Hours pass in this exquisite torment. Alexander alternates between pleasure and denial, bringing me to the edge repeatedly without allowing release. His hands, mouth, and various implements map every inch of my body until I'm trembling, begging incoherently. Please, I gasp after what feels like eternity. Alexander, please, please, what? His voice is strained now too, his control slipping. Let me come, I need no. He moves above me, his weight pressing me into the mattress. Not until you surrender completely. Not until you give me everything I have. I am. Not yet. His lips brush my ear. Tell me why you went to him tonight. The real reason. The question cuts through the haze of desire. I told you the truth, Elise, all of it. Tears leak from beneath my closed eyelids. I was scared. Of what? Of this. Of how much I want you. Of how much control you have over me. His hands cradle my face. Open your eyes. I obey, finding his face inches from mine, his expression more vulnerable than I've ever seen it. Now you understand, he says softly. Now you know what I've felt since the moment you walked into that hotel bar. His kiss is different this time, desperate, uncontrolled. I strain against my restraints, needing to touch him. He reaches up, releasing the silk bonds. The moment my hands are free, I clutch at his shoulders, his back, anywhere I can reach. Now, he growls against my mouth. Now, you can let go. And finally, I surrender completely. Morning brings a different Alexander. He sits on the edge of the bed, already dressed in casual clothes, watching me wake. His expression is guarded again, the vulnerability of last night tucked away behind his controlled facade. How do you feel? He asks, handing me a glass of water. I take inventory. Muscles pleasantly sore, wrists slightly marked from the restraints, emotions raw and exposed, complicated, a hint of a smile. Understandable. He helps me sit up, placing a tray of breakfast beside me. The care feels more intimate than last night's passion. About yesterday, I begin. It's addressed, as agreed. The slate is clean. I study him over the rim of my teacup. Just like that, just like that. He stands, creating distance. You should rest today. Tomorrow's event requires your full attention. What event? The Children's Hospital, gala, black tie, high profile. My company is a major donor. I nod, remembering it from our schedule. What time should I arrive? You won't be arriving separately. He pauses at the bedroom door. Pack enough for the weekend. You'll be staying here until Monday. The statement, not a request, should irritate me. Instead, I feel a flutter of anticipation. Alexander, I stop him before he leaves. Last night, was it just about re-establishing control? He considers the question with his usual precision. No, but we can discuss that another time. He's gone before I can press further. The Children's Hospital Gala is the most significant event I've attended. With Alexander, the city's elite gather in the marble-columned ballroom of the Grand Hotel, dripping in designer gowns and family jewels. Alexander and I arrive fashionably late, his hand possessive at the small of my back. I wear the gown he selected, midnight blue silk that leaves my shoulders bare, accented with sapphire earrings that appeared in a velvet box this morning. My hair is swept up, exposing the delicate silver chain around my neck. Another gift, delivered without comment. Alexander Reid, a silver-haired man, approaches, champagne in hand. Thought you'd abandoned us for Tokyo. Just delayed, Senator. The Nakamura deal concludes next week. Alexander's public persona is flawless, charming, confident, slightly distant. Allow me to introduce Elise Collins. The senator appraises me with practiced subtlety. Lovely to meet you, my dear. You're a lucky woman. Reid here is quite the catch. I'm well aware, I reply with a practiced smile. And what do you do, Ms. Collins? Before I can answer, a woman in a stunning red gown appears at the senator's side. Darling, the Morgans are looking for you. Her eyes assess me coolly, before turning to Alexander. Alex, it's been ages. Still working too hard. Catherine, you look well. Alexander's tone remains pleasant, but noticeably cooler. How's Michael? Thriving. Geneva agrees with him. She smiles without warmth. We must catch up properly soon. The senator excuses them, leaving us alone in the crowded room. Old friend? I asked lightly. Former colleague. Alexander's jaw tightens imperceptibly. Let's get a drink. Throughout the evening, I notice Catherine watching us. Her interest seems more than casual curiosity, there's something almost predatory in her gaze. When Alexander is pulled into a conversation with board members, she approaches me at the bar. "So you're Alex's latest." Her voice is honey over steel. "You've lasted longer than most." I maintain my composure. "Alexander and I have a private arrangement, don't they all?" She sips her champagne. Word of advice: don't mistake his attention for affection. Alexander doesn't do relationships, he does transactions, speaking from experience. Her perfect smile falters slightly. "Let's just say I understand his preferences." Before I can respond, Alexander materializes beside me, his hand finding the bare skin of my back. "Catherine, monopolizing my date. Just girl talk." She touches his arm familiarly. "She's charming, Alex. Different from your usual type." "Excuse us," he says, guiding me away. "The chairman wants to discuss the new pediatric wing." Once out of earshot, I whisper, "What was that about?" "Nothing worth discussing." His tone brooks no argument. The rest of the evening passes in a blur of introductions and polite conversation. Alexander remains attentive but distracted, his hand returning to my back or arm with possessive frequency. In the car afterward, tension radiates from him. "You're upset," I observe. "Not with you, Catherine." Then he stares out the window, profile sharp in the passing streetlights. "She's irrelevant." "She didn't seem to think so." Alexander turns to face me, expression unreadable. "What did she say to you?" "I consider lying but opt for honesty. That I shouldn't mistake your attention for affection. That you don't do relationships, just transactions." Something dangerous flashes in his eyes. "And do you believe her?" "I believe there's history there you're not sharing." Catherine worked at my firm years ago. We had a brief personal relationship that ended when she married Michael Green for his money and connections. She seems to think she knows your preferences. His laugh is without humor. "Catherine knows nothing about me. Then why are you so affected by her?" Alexander's expression closes. This conversation is over. I turn away, hurt by his dismissal. We ride in silence until the car stops at his building. In the elevator, Alexander stands with careful distance between us. His earlier warmth vanished. When we reach the penthouse, I head directly to the guest room, assuming our evening is finished. Elise's voice stops me in the hallway. "Come here." I turn reluctantly, arms crossed protectively. "I owe you an explanation," he says, loosening his tie. "You don't owe me anything. We have a contract, remember." Something shifts in his expression. "Is that all this is to you now? A contract?" The question hangs between us, loaded with implications neither of us has been willing to voice. "You tell me," I challenge. "Catherine seems to think I'm just the latest in a series. Another transaction." Alexander crosses the space between us, with deliberate steps. "Catherine," he says quietly, "is a bitter woman who couldn't handle the fact that I saw through her. And what do you see when you look at me?" His hand rises to my face, thumb brushing my cheekbone. Complexity, intelligence, desire disguised as detachment. His voice drops lower. "A woman who surrenders not because she's weak, but because she's strong enough to trust." The words unravel something tight in my chest. "Alexander, I need you to understand something." His eyes hold mine with uncomfortable intensity. "What happened last night wasn't in our contract. What I feel when I'm with you isn't in our contract. What do you feel?" Instead of answering, he kisses me different from the controlled kisses we've shared before. This is raw, almost desperate, his hands tangling in my hair, dislodging carefully placed pins. When we separate, both breathing hard, he rests his forehead against mine. "Stay with me tonight," he says. "Not in the guest room." With me, it's the closest thing to a request I've heard from him, not a command but an invitation. The distinction matters more than I can articulate. "Yes," I whisper. In his bedroom, he undresses me slowly, reverently, the opposite of last night's intensity. Each touch feels like a confession neither of us is ready to voice. When we're both naked, he pulls me against him, skin to skin, heartbeat to heartbeat. "Catherine was wrong about one thing," he murmurs against my hair. "You're nothing like the others, nothing like anyone." It's not a declaration of love, but coming from Alexander, it might be something even more significant, an admission that our carefully constructed arrangement has become something neither of us anticipated, something neither of us is prepared to name. 2 months into our arrangement, and everything has shifted. I still accompany Alexander to events, still follow his carefully constructed protocols, still kneel for him in private. But now I sleep in his bed every night I stay. Now there are moments when his control slips, when he looks at me with something dangerously close to need. Tonight he's working late. I let myself into the penthouse with my key, settling on the sofa with my psychology textbooks. Midterms approach, and even Alexander respects my study schedule. Near midnight, the elevator announces his arrival. He looks exhausted, suit rumpled, dark circles under his eyes. "You're still awake," he says, surprise softening his features. "Exam tomorrow." I close my book. "You look terrible." A ghost of a smile. Brutal negotiations. He loosens his tie. The Tokyo deal is falling apart. I rise, taking his briefcase. "Have you eaten?" "Not since breakfast." Without asking, I move to the kitchen, preparing a simple meal while he showers. It feels domestic. This unplanned caregiving, not part of our contract, but somehow more meaningful because of it. When he emerges in pajama pants and a t-shirt, the most casual I've ever seen him, I have food waiting. He sits heavily at the counter. "You didn't have to do this." I know. I place the plate before him. "Eat." For once, I'm the one giving commands. He complies without comment. Hunger overriding protocol. "Tell me about Tokyo," I say, sitting beside him. He sighs, running a hand through damp hair. 6 months of work disintegrating because the CEO's son wants to prove himself. Can you salvage it? Maybe. I'm flying out tomorrow to try. My stomach drops. For how long? At least a week. He studies my reaction. "Will you stay here while I'm gone?" The request surprises me. Here, alone. The plants need watering. His attempt at casual falls flat. "And I'd feel better knowing you're safe." I have an apartment, Alexander, this, with a roommate who probably thinks I've moved out. "Bring her here too if you want. There's plenty of space." I laugh, imagining my bohemian roommate in Alexander's sterile penthouse. "That's not going to happen. But I'll check on your plants." He nods, accepting the compromise. "There's something else." "What?" "I'd like you to come to the bedroom. There's something I want to show you." Curiosity piqued, I follow him. In the bedroom, he retrieves a small wooden box from his closet, bringing it to the bed where I sit. "Before I open this," he says carefully, "I want to be clear that what I'm about to share isn't about our arrangement. It's personal." My heart beats faster. "Okay." He opens the box. Inside are photographs, letters, and a small velvet pouch. Alexander removes a photo, a much younger version of himself, with a dark-haired woman and a little girl, my wife, Isabel, and our daughter, Lily. Shock renders me momentarily speechless. In all our time together, he's never mentioned being married, let alone having a child. "Ex-wife," I finally manage. "No." His voice is soft with old pain. "She died. They both did. Car accident. 6 years ago." Understanding crashes through me, his need for control, his reluctance to form attachments, his careful structuring of intimacy. "Alexander, I'm so sorry." He stares at the photo, thumb brushing the little girl's face. Lily would be 12 now. I place my hand over his, feeling him tense, then relax at the contact. What were they like? The question opens something in him. For the next hour, Alexander shares stories: how he met Isabel in law school, how Lily had his eyes and her mother's laugh, how they'd planned to have more children. "The accident happened while I was in London on business," he says finally. "I wasn't there when they needed me. It wasn't your fault. Logically, I know that." His voice tightens. "But logic doesn't help at 3 in the morning when I wake up reaching for someone who isn't there." I move closer, resting my head on his shoulder. "Is that why you prefer escorts? Controlled companionship without attachment?" "Initially, yes." He puts the photo away carefully. The arrangement provides structure, boundaries, no false expectations. And now, he turns to face me. Now, I'm not sure those boundaries are working as intended. My breath catches. What does that mean for us? I don't know. For once, Alexander seems genuinely uncertain. This wasn't supposed to happen. What wasn't? Instead of answering, he kisses me gentle at first. Then, with increasing urgency, his hands frame my face, holding me like something precious rather than possessed. When we separate, his eyes are dark with emotion. I should finish packing. The abrupt subject change is jarring, but I recognize his retreat. He's shared more tonight than perhaps he intended, crossed a line in our carefully negotiated relationship. Of course, I stand, giving him space. I should go home anyway. Study for tomorrow. Alexander catches my hand. Stay, please. The please stops me. In 2 months, I can count on one hand the times he's used that word. I'll distract you. I don't care. His thumb traces circles on my wrist. Just stay. I do. We don't have sex that night. Instead, Alexander holds me close, his breathing eventually slowing into sleep while I remain awake, processing his revelations. In slumber, his features soften, the controlled mask slipping to reveal the man beneath, the man who lost his family, who built walls to prevent further loss, who now seems frightened by whatever is growing between us. I should be frightened too. This was supposed to be a transaction, my companionship for his money. Now it's evolving into something uncharted, something neither of us signed up for. But as I finally drift towards sleep, Alexander's arm tightening around me, at some unconscious prompt, I realize I'm not afraid. I'm falling for him. Despite the contract, despite the power imbalance, despite knowing he may never be capable of returning those feelings. And that terrifies me far more than any surrender he's ever demanded. Alexander has been gone for 5 days. When Margot calls, "We need to talk," she says without preamble. "Coffee. Today." Her tone leaves no room for refusal. We meet at a small cafe far from Alexander's usual haunts. Margot looks immaculate as always. Designer sunglasses perched on her sleek bob, studies me over her espresso, expression unreadable. "You look different," she says finally. "Different how?" "Softer, less guarded." She removes her sunglasses. "It's concerning. I wasn't aware my facial expressions were your concern." They are, when one of my top girls is falling for a client. Her perfectly manicured fingers tap the table, especially this client. I maintain a neutral expression. Alexander and I have a professional arrangement. Bullshit. Margot leans forward. "I've been in this business 20 years, darling. I know the signs." "What signs?" "You've turned down 2 exceptionally lucrative offers from regulars. You're spending most nights at his penthouse. You're wearing a necklace I'd bet my agency he gave you." My hand automatically rises to the silver chain at my throat. "It's just jewelry." "It's never just jewelry," she sighs. "Look, I like you. You're smart, discreet, professional. That's why I'm warning you now. Alexander Reid doesn't do love." "I never said anything about love." "You didn't have to." Her eyes softened with genuine concern. "How much do you actually know about him?" "Enough." "Did you know his last companion?" "From our agency requested a transfer to Chicago after their arrangement ended, that she specifically asked never to be matched with anyone like him again." My stomach tightens. People want different things. "Did you know about his wife and daughter?" I maintain my composure with effort. "Yes." This seems to surprise her. "Then you should understand. He's broken, Elise. The kind of broken that can't be fixed by good sex and psychological surrender." "I'm not trying to fix him, aren't you?" She studies me with uncomfortable perception, the psychology student drawn to damaged men. It's textbook. Anger flares in me. "You don't know him. And you do. After 2 months of playing his perfectly scripted games, it's more than that. It always feels that way." Margot reaches across the table, squeezing my hand. "I've seen this before. It doesn't end well. I appreciate your concern, but it's not just concern. It's a warning." Her expression hardens. "Reid's arrangement with the agency ends next month. Are you prepared for what happens then?" I hadn't considered this. Our contract specified 4 months, which would indeed expire soon. "He'll renew it," I say with more confidence than I feel. "Maybe, but eventually, it will end. They always do." She sits back. "And then what? You think he'll keep you around without the structure, without the contract that lets him control every aspect of your relationship?" Her words strike uncomfortably, close to fears I've been avoiding. "This isn't a fairy tale, Elise. Men like Reid don't suddenly discover they can love again because they met the right escort. Real life doesn't work that way." I should go. I stand, needing to escape her too accurate assessment. "One more thing." Margot's voice stops me. "Catherine Green came to the agency yesterday, asking about you." Cold washes through me. What did she want? "Information. Who you are, how long you've been with Reid." "What did you tell her?" "Nothing. Client confidentiality works both ways." Margot puts her sunglasses back on. "But be careful. That woman has an agenda." I walk for hours afterward, Margot's warnings echoing in my head. My phone buzzes with a text from Alexander Rare Currents while he's traveling. Coming home tomorrow, earlier than expected. Be at the penthouse at 8. No pleasantries, no questions about my week. Just a directive. Typical Alexander. I text back. Can't wait to hear about Tokyo. His response comes minutes later. We'll discuss it tomorrow. Wear the blue dress, no underwear. The command sends heat spiraling through me despite my troubled thoughts. This is what we are, what we've always been. A carefully negotiated power exchange, not a relationship. But then, I remember Alexander showing me photos of his family, vulnerability raw in his eyes. I remember him asking me to stay, please, the night before he left. My phone rings. My roommate, Zoe, where are you? She demands when I answer. I haven't seen you in days. Are you still alive? Sorry, I've been busy with school and work. Work, she repeats skeptically. You mean your mysterious client who's monopolizing all your time, something like that? Well, your work sent flowers to the apartment. Massive arrangement, very expensive. My heart stutters. Alexander sent flowers, so he has a name. Progress. Zoe's voice turns serious. Are you okay, Elle? You've been different lately. Distracted. I'm fine. Just figuring some things out. Is this guy treating you right? Because if he's not, it's complicated. I interrupt. But yes, he treats me, well, complicated how? How to explain what I barely understand myself? He's not, emotionally available. Ah, Zoe sighs, the classic wounded male. Let me guess, divorced, workaholic, trust issues, widowed, I say quietly. With a child. Silence stretches over the line. Oh, Elle, you're in deep, aren't you? I don't know what I am. I find a bench, in the park, suddenly exhausted. It started as a professional arrangement. And now I struggle to articulate the confusion of emotions. I'm something to him. I'm just not sure what. Are you something to yourself? Zoe asks gently. Or are you letting him define you? The question hits with unexpected force. Who am I in this relationship? The composed escort playing a role, the submissive surrendering control, the caretaker trying to heal his wounds, or something else entirely, a woman falling in love with a man who may never be capable of returning those feelings. I need to figure that out, I admit. Well, start by coming home tonight. I made lasagna, and we're due for a roommate heart to heart. I smile despite my turmoil. I'll be there in an hour. Ending the call, I stare at Alexander's text again. Be at the penthouse at 8. Wear the blue dress. No underwear. For the first time since our arrangement began, I consider not complying. Not because I don't want to see him, but because I need to understand who I am outside of his instructions, his expectations, his control. I type a response. I'll be there. But we need to talk. 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. Finally, about, I hesitate, then type the truth about what happens when our contract ends. This time, no response comes. Alexander's penthouse is dark when I arrive the next evening, precisely at 8. I've followed half his instructions, wearing the blue dress, but keeping my underwear. A small rebellion that feels surprisingly significant. I find him on the balcony, silhouetted against the city lights. He doesn't turn when the door slides open, doesn't acknowledge my presence until I stand beside him. Tokyo, I ask, breaking the silence. Salvaged. Barely. His voice is tired but controlled as always. The son got his ego stroked with a minor concession. The father got what he actually wanted. Sounds like a success. A compromise. He finally turns to look at me, eyes moving over the blue dress with clear approval. You got my text. I did. His hand reaches out, tracing the neckline of the dress, fingers dipping just below the fabric, but not all of it. Of course he would know immediately. No. Something dangerous flickers in his eyes, deliberate disobedience. A conversation starter. Alexander steps back, creating distance. You wanted to talk about the contract? Yes, it expires in 3 weeks and 4 days. The precision of his countdown shouldn't surprise me. And then our formal arrangement concludes. His voice reveals nothing. As agreed. And what happens after that? Alexander turns back to the view, hands gripping the balcony railing. What would you like to happen, Elise? The question catches me off guard. In all our time together, he's rarely asked for my preferences without parameters. I'd like to know what this is, I say, carefully. What I am to you. You're important. The admission seems difficult for him. As what? A companion. A submissive. A stand-in for what you've lost. His shoulders tense. That's unfair. So is asking me to surrender everything while you reveal nothing. I move to stand in front of him, forcing him to see me. I need to know if this is just an arrangement to you. If I'm just another transaction. You've never been just anything. His voice roughens. That's the problem. Why is that a problem? Because I don't do this, Elise. Frustration edges his words. I don't form attachments. I don't develop feelings. I create clear boundaries and maintain them. Hope flutters in my chest. But you. He runs a hand through his hair, a rare gesture of discomposure. You've become a variable I can't control. And that scares you. Yes, the raw honesty in his admission steals my breath. Are you satisfied? Does knowing I'm terrified of what you've become to me make this easier? I step closer, heartbeat thundering. What have I become to you, Alexander? He closes his eyes briefly. When he opens them, the vulnerability there is almost unbearable. Necessary, he says quietly. You've become necessary. My own confession weeks ago hits me with physical force. I reach for him, needing contact. Don't. He catches my wrists. Not until we're clear about what happens next. What do you want to happen? I want you to stay. The words seem wrenched from him. Not as an escort, not under contract, just ... stay. As what? As whatever this is becoming. His grip on my wrists gentles. I don't have a framework for it. I can't categorize or control it, and that's acceptable to you. I search his face, living without those boundaries. No, but losing you is less acceptable. The admission, so clinical yet so profound, breaks something open between us. I pull my wrists from his grasp, framing his face with my hands. I'm falling in love with you, I confess, the words terrifying in their simplicity. Alexander stills, his expression unreadable. You can't know that yet. I know what I feel. Feelings change. People leave, die. Old pain shadows his eyes. Nothing lasts. That doesn't mean we don't try. He steps back, creating distance again. I can't give you what you need, Elise. I'm not capable of it anymore. You don't know what I need, don't I? His voice hardens. You need someone whole. Someone who remembers how to love without fear. That's not me. Anger flares through my hurt. Don't tell me what I need. I'm not one of your investments to be analyzed and managed. No, you're far more valuable. He moves past me into the penthouse, which is why you deserve better than what I can offer. I follow him inside. And what exactly are you offering? Because it sounds like nothing. Alexander turns, expression controlled again. I'm offering honesty. I can't promise you love, Elise. I don't know if I'm capable of it anymore. But you feel something, yes. The admission seems painful. More than I've felt for anyone since Isabel. And you'll want me to stay? Yes. Without the contract. Without the financial arrangement. Yes. But you can't promise more than that. He meets my gaze directly. I won't promise what I'm not certain I can deliver. I study him, this complicated, wounded man who's become so important to me. The rational part of me knows Margot is right. This can't end well. The part of me that's fallen for him doesn't care. What would it look like? I ask. Us, without the contract. I don't know. For once, uncertainty doesn't seem to frighten him. We'd have to discover that together. The possibility hangs between us, something new, undefined, terrifying in its potential. I need time, I say finally, to think about what I want, what I need. He nods, accepting this without argument. How much time? Until the contract ends. 3 weeks and 4 days. I borrow his precision, then I'll give you my answer. And, tonight, the question contains layers of meaning. Am I staying? Are we maintaining our arrangement for now? Have the rules changed already? I stepped closer. Decision made. Tonight, I'm here because I want to be, not because of the contract. Alexander's eyes darken. And the blue dress? My instructions. Some instructions are worth following. I reach for the zipper at the back of my dress. Some need to be adjusted. As the dress pulls at my feet, revealing the underwear I wasn't supposed to wear, Alexander's control visibly slips. You're deliberately provoking me, he says, voice rough. Yes. I step out of the fabric, moving toward him. The question is, what are you going to do about it? The challenge hangs between us for one breathless moment before he closes the distance. lifting me against him with surprising strength. His mouth finds mine in a kiss that contains none of his usual restraint, just raw need and something deeper, something he's still afraid to name. Pine, I whisper against his lips. He freezes instantly, setting me down. What's wrong? Nothing. I take his hand, leading him toward the bedroom. I just wanted to remind you that I still have the power to stop this. That whatever happens between us now is my choice as much as yours. Understanding dawns in his eyes. Control freely given, not taken. Exactly. In the bedroom, everything changes. For the first time, Alexander surrenders control to me, following my lead, responding to my touch. When he finally enters me, our eyes locked. Something shifts between us, some fundamental rebalancing of power that has nothing to do with dominance and everything to do with trust. After lying in the darkness with his heartbeat steady beneath my ear, I realize what's different. Tonight wasn't about his pleasure, or even mine. It wasn't about control or surrender or any of the careful protocols that have defined our relationship. Tonight was about connection, raw, honest, frightening in its intensity. Stay, Alexander murmurs, half asleep. This time, it's not a command, it's a request, perhaps even a plea. Until morning, I agree. The rest, the future, the definitions, the boundaries can wait for those 3 weeks and 4 days. Tonight, this is enough, this is everything. The next 2 weeks settle into a new pattern. I still see Alexander nearly every day, still follow many of our established protocols, but something fundamental has shifted. He asks more than commands. Now, I offer more than comply. We don't discuss what happens when the contract ends. By unspoken agreement, we're giving ourselves these weeks to simply be, without definitions, without pressure. On a rainy Tuesday, I'm leaving my afternoon class when a black town car pulls up alongside me. The driver steps out, opening an umbrella. Ms. Collins, Mr. Reid sent me. Curious, I slide into the back seat, expecting to find Alexander. Instead, there's a small wrapped box on the leather seat and a handwritten note. Meet me at Riverside Park, North Entrance. Alexander hates surprises, hates spontaneity. This deviation from his carefully structured routine intrigues me. At the park, the rain has subsided to a light mist. The driver points me toward a path where I find Alexander waiting under a massive oak, hands in the pockets of his overcoat. What's this about? I ask, approaching with the unopened box. Open it first. Inside is a key different from the one to his penthouse. Another property. Not exactly. He gestures to a bench, protected from the drizzle by the oak's canopy. Sit with me. We sit side by side, watching joggers navigate puddles on the path ahead. Alexander seems uncharacteristically hesitant. I've been thinking about our situation, he finally says, and I want to propose an alternative arrangement. My heart sinks. Despite our evolving relationship, he's still thinking in terms of arrangements and agreements. Go on, I say, keeping my voice neutral. I've purchased an apartment near your university. 2 bedrooms, renovated, good security. The key is yours, regardless of what you decide about us. I stare at the key in my palm. You bought me an apartment. I bought an apartment, he clarifies. Whether you live there is your choice. No strings attached. Alexander, I can't accept a property worth considerate investment in your education. The location makes your commute 15 minutes instead of 45. The second bedroom could be a dedicated study space. His logical framing doesn't disguise the magnitude of the gesture. Most people start with flowers, not real estate. A hint of a smile. I sent flowers last week, and now an apartment. I close my fingers around the key. Why? He stares ahead, profile sharp against the misty park backdrop. Because in 11 days our contract ends, and I needed to show you something concrete. Show me what I'm trying. He turns to face me. That whatever this becomes, I'm committed to making it work. The sincerity in his voice catches me off guard. By buying property, by creating space for you in my life that isn't transactional. His hand covers mine, enclosing the key between our palms. A place that's yours, not mine, where you stay, not ours before we're ready for that concept. Put that way, it makes a certain Alexander-like sense, pragmatic, yet oddly romantic. I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything yet. Take the key, see the place, think about it. I study his face, the controlled features softened by something that might be hope. This is a big gesture. It reflects the significance of the decision we're both facing, always so precise with words. never saying more than exactly what he means. Show me the apartment, I say. Relief flickers across his face. The car takes us to a pre-war building in the university district. The apartment occupies the entire top floor, spacious by city standards, with large windows and hardwood floors. Everything is newly renovated but intentionally neutral, as if waiting for someone to make it their own. It's beautiful, I admit, running my hand along a marble countertop. It's practical, Alexander counters, though I catch the pleasure in his eyes at my approval. Good light for studying, quiet building. I wander into the main bedroom, taking in the empty space. No furniture. I thought you'd want to select that yourself. He remains in the doorway, giving me space to explore. If you decide to accept, and if I don't, what happens to this place? It remains a sound investment property. Always the businessman. I move to the windows, looking out at the tree-lined street below. What about the penthouse? What about it? Would I still be welcome there? Alexander approaches, stopping just behind me. Always. But I thought you might want your own territory, somewhere you have complete control. The insight surprises me that he understands my need for autonomy, for balance against his dominant nature. And us. I turn to face him. What would we be to each other without the contract? Whatever we choose to be. His hand rises to my face, thumb brushing my cheekbone. Partners, perhaps, still learning each other's boundaries. Would you still want ... the same things? The surrender, the control. I'll always be who I am, Elise. His voice lowers. But I'm discovering there are many forms of control, many types of surrender. The admission costs him, I can tell. This man who plans everything, controls everything, is stepping into uncharted territory for me. I need to think, I say, about the apartment, about us, of course. He steps back, hands returning to his pockets. Take whatever time you need. As we leave, I pause at the door, looking back at the empty space full of possibility. Thank you, I say softly, for trying. Alexander's expression softens. Thank you for making me want to. In the car afterward, he maintains a careful distance. The ball is in my court now, a position I'm not used to with him. I have meetings for the rest of the day, he says as we approach my current apartment. Will I see you tomorrow? The uncertainty in his voice, so unlike his usual confidence, tugs at something in my chest. Yes, I say, squeezing his hand. Tomorrow. He lifts my hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to my knuckles. Until then, watching the car pull away, I realize I'm clutching the apartment key so tightly it's left an imprint on my palm. A tangible symbol of what Alexander is offering, not just property, but permanence. Not just space, but a future. The question is whether I'm ready to accept it. I don't tell Zoe about the apartment immediately. The magnitude of Alexander's gesture requires processing, and my roommate's skepticism about our relationship would only complicate my thoughts. Instead, I returned to the empty apartment alone the next day, sitting cross-legged on the floor in the main bedroom, trying to imagine my life there. Would it feel like freedom, or another form of control, influence extending into a space that should be mine? My phone buzzes with a text from Margot. Coffee tomorrow. Important update. I agree, curious and slightly wary. When we meet at our usual cafe, Margot's expression is unusually serious. I'm closing the agency, she announces without preamble. What? Why? Time for a change. She stirs her espresso. I've accepted a position with an international hospitality group. Better hours, better retirement plan. Margot, you've built this business for years. You love it. I loved the independence, the connections, but we both know this industry takes a toll. She studies me over her cup. Speaking of which, how's Red? He bought me an apartment. Her eyebrows shoot up. Well, that single quotes escalatory. He says it's an investment in my education. No strings attached. Darling, there are always strings. They're just sometimes invisible until you try to walk away. She leans forward. Have you told him about us yet? My stomach tightens. No, you should, before someone else does. The warning in her tone is unmistakable. Is someone threatening to? Let's just say Catherine Green has been asking very specific questions about your background, about how we know each other. Cold washes through me. The connection between Margot and me goes beyond business. She's my mother's cousin, the family member who took me in after my parents divorced, left me effectively orphaned at 17. She guided me into escort work when college expenses overwhelmed my scholarships, protecting me while teaching me to protect myself. Alexander knows none of this. He believes the carefully constructed backstory in my agency profile. I should tell him, I agree reluctantly. Soon, Margot emphasizes, and consider the apartment carefully. If things end badly, you don't want to be living in a space he controls. Her warning follows me to Alexander's penthouse that evening. He greets me with a careful kiss, attentive to my mood. You seem distracted, he observes as we eat dinner. Margot is closing the agency. He sets down his fork. I see, and that concerns you. It's unexpected. What will you do? Professionally speaking, the question hangs between us, the unspoken acknowledgement that our contract is ending, that my income will be affected. I hadn't thought about it yet. A half-truth. I've been saving carefully, enough for next semester's tuition. The apartment offer stands regardless, he says, reading my thoughts as usual. I know. I push food around my plate, but we need to talk about something else first. Alexander waits, expression neutral, but alert. My background, the information in my agency profile, it's not entirely accurate. His only reaction is a slight tightening around his eyes. Go on. I explain about Margot being my cousin, about her introducing me to escort work, about the partially fabricated background designed to appeal to wealthy clients. When I finish, Alexander is silent for several beats. Thank you for telling me. You're not upset that you created a professional persona? No, I'd have done the same in your position. He studies me. Is there anything else I should know? The question offers an opening to explain about Catherine's inquiries, but something holds me back. No, Alexander nods, accepting this. Then shall we consider this the beginning of complete honesty between us? Yes, the agreement feels significant, a shift in our dynamic. Goody reaches for my hand across the table. Now, about the apartment, I need more time to think. I interrupt gently. He withdraws his hand, disappointment flickering briefly before his control reasserts. Of course, later, in bed, Alexander holds me closer than usual, his breathing eventually slowing into sleep while I remain awake. In slumber, his features soften, the controlled mask slipping to reveal vulnerability. He rarely shows conscious. Carefully, extracting myself from his embrace, I move to the window, looking out at the city lights. Everything is changing. Margot's agency closing, my professional identity shifting, my relationship with Alexander evolving into something undefined. The apartment key sits heavy in my purse across the room, a promise of independence, yet also a tie to Alexander that exists outside our contract. Would accepting make me more autonomous, or less? My phone lights up with a text, Zoe asking when I'm coming home. Home. The concept feels increasingly fluid. I respond, late. Don't wait up. Her reply comes quickly. We need to talk about rent. I can't cover your half again next month. Guilt tugs at me. I've been so absorbed in Alexander's world that I've neglected my responsibilities to my roommate, my friend. Moving quietly, I dress in the darkness. Alexander stirs but doesn't wake. As I gather my things, I leave a note on the pillow. Early class. Call you later. Outside, the night air is cool against my heated skin. Instead of taking a taxi, I walk, needing movement, space to think. My feet carry me not to my shared apartment with Zoe, but to the empty one Alexander bought. Using the key, I enter the silent space, flipping on a single light dot in the emptiness. I can almost see possibilities: furniture I'd choose, books on shelves, a life independent of both Alexander's world and my past. A clean slate. Bop. My phone buzzes. Alexander, awake and finding me gone. Everything okay? I hesitate before responding. Yes. Needed to think. I'm at the apartment. His reply comes after a lengthy pause. Your apartment with Zoe? No. The new one. Another pause. Would you like company? The question, not an assumption, not a statement of intent, represents everything that's shifting between us. Alexander giving me space to choose, to lead. Not tonight. I need to be alone. I understand. Call if you need anything. I sink to the floor in what will be the living room, drawing my knees to my chest. For the first time in months, I'm truly alone. Performing for clients, not surrendering to Alexander, not maintaining appearances for Zoe or Margot. Just me, in an empty space, facing the terrifying freedom of choice. I could walk away from Alexander, take the key, take the apartment, start fresh without the complications of our relationship. I could return to escort work with a different agency. I could focus exclusively on my studies. Or, I could step into something unknown with him, something without the safety net of contracts and professional boundaries, something real, with all the machines and vulnerability that entails. As dawn breaks, casting long shadows across the empty floor, I make my decision. When Alexander calls the next morning, I'm still at the empty apartment, having fallen asleep on the floor sometime before dawn. "Did you sleep there?" he asks, concern evident even through his controlled tone. "Yes." I stretch, stiff from the hardwood floor, not intentionally. "I can send furniture today." "No." I stand, moving to the windows. "I need to do this my way." Silence stretches over the line. Then, of course, "Will I see you tonight?" "Not tonight. I need to talk to Zoe about moving out. And I have midterms to study for." "I understand." His voice reveals nothing of his feelings. "Call if you need anything." The next 3 days pass in a blur of exams. Conversations with Zoe, tearful but supportive. Once I explain I'll cover rent until she finds a new roommate, and shopping for essential furniture. I don't see Alexander, though we exchange brief texts daily, his way of maintaining connection without pressure. On the 4th day, I return to my shared apartment to pack more clothes and find Zoe in serious conversation with a visitor, Catherine Green. They both look up as I enter. Zoe's expression is confused, Catherine's triumphant. "Elise," Catherine says smoothly, rising from our shabby couch. "What a coincidence. Your roommate was just telling me about your studies." My blood runs cold. "Zoe, could you give us a minute?" "Sure." Zoe looks between us uncertainly before retreating to her bedroom. "What are you doing here?" I keep my voice level despite the panic rising in my chest. "Research." Catherine's smile is predatory. "You're a fascinating subject, Elise Collins, or should I call you Elizabeth Caulfield? That's your real name, isn't it?" I maintain my composure with effort. "What do you want?" "To understand what makes you special." She moves around our small living room, examining photos. "What makes Alexander Reid break his patterns for you when he wouldn't for me?" "You and Alexander were colleagues." "We were much more than that." Her perfectly manicured hand trails along our bookshelf. "Until he shut down completely after his family died. Became the controlled automaton you now know." Again, "What do you want?" "To warn you." She turns, dropping all pretense of pleasantry. "He'll never love you. He's incapable of it now. Whatever he's offering, money, property, exclusivity, it's not love. You don't know him." "I knew him before the accident broke something fundamental in him." Her eyes narrow. "Did he tell you he was driving when they crashed?" Shock must register on my face because she smiles coldly. "No, I thought not. Alexander wasn't just away on business. He was driving the car. Took a call from London, missed a turn. He survived." "They didn't." "You're lying. Ask him." She steps closer. "Ask him why he creates these elaborate arrangements with escorts. Why he needs complete control. Why he can never give you what you're hoping for." My hands clench at my sides. "Get out." Gladly, she retrieves her designer purse. "But first, a courtesy. Alexander's board is considering removing him as CEO. His behavior has become erratic since meeting you. Distracted. The Tokyo deal nearly collapsed. That's not my concern. It should be when he loses the company. He loses his last anchor to sanity." She moves to the door. "And when that happens, whatever fantasy you're living collapses too." After she leaves, I sink onto the couch, mind racing. Zoe emerges cautiously from her room. "Who was that?" "She said she was an old friend of yours." "Not a friend." I press my hands to my temples. "Zoe, I need to go to him." "Yes." She sits beside me, taking my hand. That woman seemed intense. "Are you sure you're not in over your head here?" "I'm already drowning," I admit. "Might as well swim towards something worthwhile." At Alexander's building, the doorman greets me with familiar politeness. The private elevator feels like the longest ride of my life. I don't know what to believe, what to ask, what to fear. Alexander opens the door before I knock, expression shifting from controlled to concerned when he sees my face. "What's happened?" "Catherine Green came to my apartment, talking to my roommate." Expression hardens. "Come in." In the living room, I pace while he pours 2 drinks, handing me one with careful precision. "What did she say?" he asks, maintaining distance. "That you were driving the car when your family died, that you're being pushed out of your company, that you're—" I hesitate. "Broken," he finishes. "Incapable of love. Unable to give you what you need." Yes. Alexander sets down his untouched drink, moving to the window, his habitual retreat when emotions threaten his control. Was she telling the truth about the accident? His shoulders tense. Yes and no. I was driving. We hit black ice. The call from London came after we'd already started to slide. Relief floods me not at the tragedy itself, but that Catherine's version wasn't entirely accurate, and the company. There's been discussion about my leadership. The Tokyo deal raised concerns. He turns to face me. But the board voted yesterday. I remain CEO with certain additional oversight. You didn't tell me. I didn't want to burden you with corporate politics. And the rest. I step closer. About you being broken. Incapable of love. Something vulnerable flashes in his eyes. That's what you need to decide for yourself. I'm not asking what I think, I say quietly. I'm asking what you believe. Alexander is silent for a long moment. Internal struggle visible in the tension of his jaw, the tightness around his eyes. I don't know, he finally admits. After Isabel and Lily, I shut down certain parts of myself, created structures to avoid feeling, to prevent attachment. The arrangements with escorts, yes, physical needs met without emotional complications. His voice is clinical, detached. Until you. What changed with me? He moves closer, stopping just outside my personal space. Everything. Nothing. I don't have language for it. Try, I whisper. Alexander takes a shaky breath. With you, I want things I've denied myself for years. Connection, vulnerability. His voice drops lower. The possibility of loss, that terrifies you, completely. The admission costs him visibly, but not as much as the thought of you walking away. The raw honesty in his voice catches me off guard. This isn't the controlled dominant I've known these past months. This is just a man wounded, uncertain, trying. I'm moving into the apartment, I say. My apartment, as you called it. His expression remains carefully neutral. I see. But that doesn't mean I'm walking away from this. I step closer, breaching the space between us. From us. Hope flickers. In his eyes, what does it mean? It means I need my own territory, my own power. But I also need you. I take his hand, feeling the slight tremor he's trying to control. Not your arrangement, not your submission protocols. You. I don't know how to do this without structure, he confesses. Without clear boundaries. Neither do I, but I'm willing to learn if you are. Alexander's free hand rises to my face, thumb brushing my cheekbone in the gesture that's become so familiar. Yes, he says simply, I'm willing. The kiss that follows is different from any we've shared, neither the controlled, the dominance of our arrangement, nor the desperate passion of recent weeks. It's tentative, questioning, the beginning of something undefined yet somehow more real than anything that came before. When we separate, his forehead rests against mine. Stay tonight. Yes, and tomorrow. I smile against his lips. Let's find out together. For the first time since we met, neither of us is following a script. Neither leading nor following, controlling nor surrendering, just two people stepping into uncertain territory, hands intertwined. It's terrifying. It's exhilarating. It's exactly what we both need. The apartment transforms slowly. A bed first, then a desk for studying, bookshelves, a comfortable sofa. Alexander offers input when asked, but otherwise respects my choices, watching with quiet fascination as the space becomes mine. Our contract officially expires on a Tuesday, a date that once loomed with significance, but now passes almost unremarked. I spend the evening at my apartment, alone by choice, completing a paper for my advanced psychology class. Alexander texts once, thinking of you. Not a command, not a request to come over, just a simple acknowledgement of connection. I respond, same, see you tomorrow. Yes, my place or yours. The question feels significant, acknowledging our separate territories, respecting my independence. Mine. I'll cook. When he arrives the next evening, Alexander brings wine but no flowers, no gifts, understanding without being told that I need this to feel like equal ground, not another transaction. He looks different in my space, still elegant in his tailored suit, but somehow less imposing among my mismatched furniture and colorful throw pillows. He studies the books on my shelves, the photos I've placed on walls, learning me through my choices. You look comfortable here, he observes over dinner. It suits you. It's starting to feel like home. I'm glad. His expression is genuine, without the possessive pride I half expected. You've created something beautiful. After dinner, we move to the sofa. the domesticity of the evening both strange and comforting. When Alexander reaches for me, the kiss is questioning rather than commanding, seeking permission rather than assuming compliance. I respond with deliberate initiative, climbing into his lap, hands working at his tie. His surprise is evident in the slight catch of his breath, the momentary stillness before his hands find my waist. Here, he asks against my mouth, my apartment, my rules, I murmur. A deliberate echo of his former dominance. Something flares in his eyes, challenge, desire, amusement. And what are your rules, Elise? First rule, fewer clothes. I push his jacket from his shoulders. Second rule, you let me lead. His hands fall away, resting on the sofa beside him, surrendering control without being asked. And the third rule, I smile against his mouth. You'll find out. What follows is unlike anything in our previous dynamic. I take charge, completely setting the pace, directing his touch, exploring his body with the same deliberate attention he's always shown mine. When I finally sink onto him, his hands grip the sofa cushions, restraining his instinct to control. Look at me, I command, echoing his words from countless encounters. His eyes meet mine, darkened with desire, but also something softer. Something that looks startlingly like surrender. The third rule, I whisper, rolling my hips slowly, is that you tell me what you need. Emotion flashes across his features, confusion, vulnerability, resistance. Alexander has spent years controlling his needs, never voicing them directly. I need, double quotes. He struggles visibly. I need you to not stop. More specific, I urge, deliberately stilling my movements. Tell me exactly what you need from me. His hands rise to my hips, but don't guide them, just rest there, connecting without controlling. I need to feel you, all of you, without barriers. I understand he means more than physical barriers. Then let go, I whisper. Stop calculating, stop controlling, just feel. Something breaks in his expression, the last wall crumbling. His arms wrap around me, pulling me closer as he buries his face against my neck. When we move together now, it's with a synchronicity that transcends dominance and submission, just to Boft is communicating without performance or protocol. After, we lie tangled on my too small sofa, his heartbeat gradually slowing beneath my ear. That was, double quotes, he begins. Different, I finish for him. Yes, his fingers trace patterns on my bare shoulder. Good, different. For me too. I prop myself up to see his face. How does it feel? Surrendering control. He considers the question with his usual precision. Terrifying. Exhilarating. His eyes meet mine. Worth it. The simple admission means more than any elaborate declaration could. Alexander, who plans everything, controls everything, protects himself from vulnerability at all costs, found surrender worthwhile. For me, we could try something, I suggest, trailing my fingers along his chest, alternating, sometimes your lead, sometimes mine. Balance, he muses, rather than dominance. Exactly. His arms tighten around me. I'd like that. Later, as we move to my new bed, Alexander pauses in the doorway. You know, this doesn't change who I am fundamentally. I'll always have certain preferences. I know, I pull him toward me. I'm not asking you to change your nature, just to make room for mine too. I can do that. He kisses me softly. I want to do that. In the weeks that follow, we explore this new balance, sometimes falling into our old patterns of dominance and submission, other times discovering new dynamics where power shifts fluidly between us. Sometimes I stay at his penthouse, sometimes he stays at my apartment, sometimes we spend nights apart, secure enough now to exist separately without fear of disconnection. Our relationship remains undefined in conventional terms. We don't discuss labels or make declarations, but something solid forms between us, a foundation built on choice rather than contract, on mutual surrender rather than one-sided submission. One evening, as Alexander works at my kitchen table while I study on the sofa, the domesticity of the moment strikes me. This powerful man who once required elaborate protocols for interaction now sits comfortably in my space. Jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up, glasses perched on his nose as he reviews documents. What? He asks, catching me watching him. Nothing, I smile. Just thinking about how far we've come. He sets down his pen, studying me with the focused attention that still makes my pulse quicken. Regrets, not one. Alexander's expression softens. Nor I, though I admit, I never imagined this outcome when I first requested you. What did you imagine? something controlled, contained. His smile holds self-deprecation. I should have known better. You were never going to fit in the box I created. Neither were you, I point out. Not really. He nods. Acknowledgement of the truth we've both discovered, that real connection requires stepping outside our carefully constructed boundaries, risking the messiness of authentic emotion. Come here, he says softly. I rise, crossing to him, expecting a kiss. Instead, he pulls me into his lap, arms encircling me, without demand or expectation, just holding me. His face pressed against my hair. In the silence, I feel the weight of words unspoken, not yet, but someday. For now, this is enough. This imperfect balance, this evolving trust, this new territory we're mapping together, step by careful step. The invitation arrives by courier, heavy cream cardstock in an embossed envelope. The Anderson Foundation Annual Gala, benefiting children who've lost parents to accidents. Alexander's name listed prominently on the host committee. You don't have to attend, he says when I mention it. These events can be tedious. We're at his penthouse, Alexander cooking while I sit at the kitchen island with a glass of wine. Domestic scenes like this have become our new normal over the past 2 months. Do you not want me there? I ask, studying his expression. Of course, I do. He focuses on chopping vegetables with precise movements. But it's different now. You're not obligated. I know. I sip my wine. Tell me about the foundation. Alexander's knife stills momentarily. I established it after Isabel and Lily died. It provides therapy, educational support, and community for children who've lost parents to accidents. I didn't know. It's not something I discuss often. He resumes chopping. Catherine's husband sits on the board, which makes these events complicated. Ah, now I understand your hesitation. He looks up, expression softening. It's not you I'm hesitating about. It's subjecting you to Catherine again. I can handle Catherine. I reach for his hand across the counter. I'd like to go. To support you. And the foundation. Something flickers in his eyes, gratitude. Perhaps, or relief. Thank you. The night of the gala, Alexander is unusually quiet as we dress, he in his tuxedo, me in a silver gown he hasn't seen before. When I emerge from the bathroom, he stares with undisguised appreciation. You look stunning, he says, voice rough. So do you. I straighten his bow tie, nervous. Not exactly. His hands settle at my waist. These events always bring everything back. Isabel used to help organize them. It's the most he's volunteered about his late wife without direct questioning. I cover his hands with mine. We can still cancel. No, he kisses me softly. Having you there will make it easier. The ballroom is decorated in tasteful silver and white, photographs of smiling children displayed on tall panels throughout the space. Alexander moves through the crowd with practiced ease, introducing me simply as Elise without explanation or label. I notice the subtle differences from our previous public appearances, his hand no longer constantly at my back, guiding and possessive. Now he stands beside me, sometimes touching, sometimes not, but always aware of my presence. We separate briefly when he's called to discuss something with the foundation director. I'm examining a display of children's artwork when a familiar voice speaks behind me. Well, this is a surprise. Still around, I see. I turn to face Catherine, elegant in burgundy that complements her blonde perfection. Good evening, Catherine. I expected you'd be gone by now. She sips champagne, eyes calculating. The others never lasted this long. Perhaps Alexander's taste has improved. Her eyes narrow at my use of his full name rather than the Alex she prefers. Or perhaps you're more accommodating than most. I understand you're on the foundation board, I say, changing the subject. Admirable work. My husband is on the board. I'm just a supportive wife. Her smile doesn't reach her eyes. A role I doubt you'll ever experience with Alexander. Before I can respond, a distinguished silver-haired man joins us. Catherine, darling, the Morgensterns are asking for you. Michael, have you met Elise, Alexander's companion? Michael Green appraises me with more kindness than his wife. Lovely to meet you. I hope Catherine isn't monopolizing you with foundation talk. Not at all. It's fascinating work. It is, though difficult for Alexander. Of course, Michael's expression turns sympathetic. Especially today, it would have been Lily's birthday. The information hits me with physical force. Alexander never mentioned this significant detail. I should find him, I say, excusing myself. I search the crowded ballroom, finally spotting Alexander on a terrace overlooking the gardens. He stands alone, shoulders rigid, staring into the darkness. You should have told me, I say quietly, joining him. He doesn't turn. About Lily's birthday. Yes, I didn't want you to feel obligated to attend out of sympathy. I move beside him, not touching but close. That's not how relationships work, Alexander, isn't it? His voice is tired. I've spent 6 years avoiding genuine connection. I'm still learning the protocols. There are no protocols for this, just honesty. He finally turns to face me, moonlight casting shadows across his features. Honesty. Then, today is difficult. Being here, surrounded by reminders, knowing she should be turning 12, planning her ridiculous party with unicorns or whatever 12-year-olds love now. His voice breaks slightly. Without hesitation, I step into his space, arms encircling him. After a moment's resistance, he yields, embracing me with surprising desperation. I'm sorry, I whisper against his shoulder. For what? That you lost them, that you're hurting, that I can't fix it. His arms tighten. You being here helps. We stand together in the darkness, the gala continuing without us. Eventually, Alexander straightens, composure returning. We should go back inside, he says, though his hands remain at my waist. Only if you want to, we could leave. He shakes his head. I need to speak at 9, and the children's art auction is important. Then we'll stay. I straighten his bow tie again, but afterward, we go home, together. Something shifts in his expression at the word home, a concept that's become fluid between us, sometimes his penthouse, sometimes my apartment, but always wherever we're together. Yes, he agrees softly. Inside. Catherine intercepts us, Michael at her side. Alex, they're asking for you backstage. The program's running ahead of schedule. Thank you, Catherine. Alexander's public mask returns seamlessly. Michael, good to see you. You too, holding up okay today. Michael's concern seems genuine, better than expected. Alexander's hand finds mine, a small but significant gesture. Elise has been instrumental. Catherine's gaze drops to our joined hands, something calculating in her expression. How lovely. Speaking of instrumental, Alex, the investigative piece about your Tokyo deal runs in the Financial Times tomorrow. I hope it's favorable. Alexander's grip tightens, fractionally. I wasn't aware they were running a piece. Oh, her surprise is clearly feigned. Michael must have mentioned it to me. Something about questionable negotiations. Michael looks uncomfortable. Catherine, I'm sure that's confidential. It's fine. Alexander interrupts smoothly. The deal was concluded legally and ethically. The Times is welcome to examine it. As they move away, I feel tension radiating from Alexander. What was that about? Catherine's last attempt at destabilizing me. His jaw is tight. The Tokyo deal involved some unorthodox negotiations, but nothing illegal. She's hoping to create board concern before our quarterly meeting. Can she hurt you? Professionally, she can try. His expression softens as he looks at me. But she can't touch what matters most. The simple declaration so, unlike the controlled Alexander of months ago, steals my breath. Before I can respond, he's called to the stage for his speech. I watch from the audience as he addresses the crowd, composed, articulate, passionate about the Foundation's work. Looking at him now, no one would guess the emotional turmoil he experienced moments ago. But I see the slight tension in his shoulders, the barely perceptible tremor in his hand as he mentions Lily once, briefly, as his inspiration. And when he finds me in the crowd, eyes locking with mine mid-speech, I understand something profound. Alexander Reid is still learning to navigate grief, still struggling with vulnerability, still haunted by his past, but he's no longer doing it alone. Neither am I. 1 year to the day after our first meeting, I stand in Alexander's penthouse, watching snow fall over the city. So much has changed in 12 months. My graduation with honors, my acceptance to a doctoral program, the careful evolution of whatever exists between us. We still haven't labeled it, still haven't spoken certain words aloud. But the evidence surrounds us. My books mingle with his on shelves. My favorite tea in his kitchen, the painting I bought him hanging in the entryway. Penny for your thoughts, Alexander says, approaching with 2 glasses of champagne. Just reflecting. I accept the glass, clinking it against his. 1 year ago today, at the hotel bar, his eyes warm with the memory. You were wearing a black dress with impossibly high heels. You looked terrified and determined in equal measure. You remember what I was wearing. I remember everything about that night. He steps closer, including how certain I was that you'd never actually sign the contract. Yet here we are. Here we are, he echoes, though not as I imagined. Disappointed, I teased, quite the opposite. His free hand rises to my face, thumb brushing my cheekbone, in the gesture that's become our silent language of connection. I had planned a structured arrangement. Instead, I got you, the real you. I lean into his touch. And the real you, eventually, he smiles at the unguarded smile that still appears to rarely but with increasing frequency. I have something for you, Alexander. We agreed no gifts. It's not precisely a gift. He sets down his glass, retrieving a small box from his desk drawer. More of a proposition. My heart quickens at the familiar phrasing and echo of our beginning. Another contract, in a manner of speaking. He opens the box to reveal not jewelry but a key different from the ones to his penthouse or my apartment. This is to a house on the coast, property I've owned for years but never used. Why not? It was meant to be a family home. After the accident, I see OULDN, single quotes. He pauses, collecting himself. It's been sitting empty until now. You're selling it. No. Alexander's eyes hold mine with uncomfortable intensity. I'm offering it as our home, together. The significance of the gesture steals my breath. Alexander, who separated his life into careful compartments, who maintained multiple properties to ensure personal space, is suggesting cohabitation. That's a big step, I manage. Yes. He doesn't elaborate, doesn't pressure, just waits and change from the man who once commanded rather than asked. Can I see it first? Relief flickers across his features. Of course. This weekend, if you'd like. I'd like that. I take the key, turning it over in my hand. But, Alexander, I need to ask why now. He considers the question with his usual precision. Because I'm ready. Because I think you might be too. Because separate territories serve their purpose in helping us find balance. But I find myself wanting more. More what? More connection. More consistency. His voice drops lower. More of you in my daily life, not just when schedules align. Set down my glass, moving closer to him. That sounds suspiciously like a relationship. I believe that's what we've been building. Yes. His hands settle at my waist, though we've been careful not to name it. Why is that? Do you think? Fear, initially? On my part, at least. His honesty is still new enough to surprise me. Fear that naming it would make it real, make it vulnerable to loss. And now I find myself more afraid of not naming it, of not acknowledging what you've become to me. My heart thunders against my ribs. Which is Alexander takes a measured breath, essential, not just desired or valued, but necessary, for my happiness, my wholeness. The echo of my confession from a year ago. Desire to be necessary to someone isn't lost on me. Are you saying I love you? The words emerge with surprising steadiness for their significance. I have for some time now. I simply needed to be certain I remembered how to love properly before saying it aloud. Tears pricked behind my eyes. And are you certain? As much as anyone can be. His thumbs brush moisture from my cheeks. I'm still learning, still making mistakes, but I know what I feel for you is real, permanent. I rise on tiptoes, pressing my forehead to his. I love you too, have since before I was willing to admit it. His arms tighten around me, a tremor running through him at my words. When he kisses me, it contains none of the controlled passion from our beginning, just raw emotion, vulnerability without reservation. Later, in his our bed, increasingly traces patterns on my bare shoulder, expression thoughtful. What happens now? I ask. After a year of careful non-definitions, do we have labels, rules? I think perhaps we've outgrown rigid structures. His fingers trail along my collarbone, though I retain certain preferences in private. As do I smile against his chest. But for the rest, we continue as we have been, learning each other, building something resilient. He shifts to look at me directly, with one addition, which is honesty about our needs, both spoken and unspoken. I consider this like your need for occasional solitude, and my need for independence. Exactly. His expression turns serious. I can't promise perfection, Elise. I still carry wounds that may never fully heal. Still have moments where control feels safer than vulnerability. I know who you are, Alexander. I touch his face, feeling the slight stubble along his jaw. I'm not asking for perfection. What are you asking for? The question hangs between a genuine inquiry rather than a challenge or negotiation. Presence, I answer finally. Effort, the willingness to try, even when it's difficult. The same things I'm offering you. His expression softens with something that might be relief, that I can promise. Then yes, I press a kiss to his palm, to the house, to us, to whatever comes next. Alexander pulls me closer, his heart beats steady beneath my ear. I used to think surrender was weakness, he murmurs against my hair. Now I understand it's the bravest thing we do. Outside, snow continues falling, coating the city in pristine white. Inside, we lie tangled together, redefining what was once a transaction into something neither of us could have anticipated a year ago, something built on choice rather than obligation, on mutual surrender rather than power exchange, on love that emerged unexpectedly from the most controlled of beginnings. I still don't say no to him, not because I can't, but because what he asks for now aligns with what I freely offer. And he no longer needs to ask twice, not because he demands immediate compliance, but because we've learned to hear each other the first time. It's not perfect. It's not without complications. But as Alexander's breathing slows toward sleep, his arms instinctively tightening around me, I know with absolute certainty, this unplanned, unnamed, unexpected love is exactly what we both needed all along.